Now, it's an election that pits two of this country's traditional political powers, the APC and the PDP, against each other, as well as against two new political players, Labour and the NNPP. All four, as well as 14 others, are vying for the coveted golden keys to the Aso Rock presidential villa, a prize that will be awarded to the top vote scorer. Ahead of the election, the future of this economically battered country and the happiness of its citizens are riding on it. There's a lot of passion and emotion as people struggle to get through every single month with rising inflation. But amid the privations, the political divisions, and the hope of each party for victory at the polls, there's also unity amongst the majority on the need for this election to be free and fair. So, as expectations and nerves rise, are we likely to see lots of tension as the old and the new battle for supremacy? Well, for his assessment, I'm joined now in the studio by the former vice presidential running mate to Atiku Abubakar in 2007, Senator Ben Obi, who is currently chairman of the PDP Presidential Campaign Council in Anambra State, and is also chairman of the Board of Trustees and pro-chancellor and chairman of the Governing Council of the American University in Yola. Thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Thank you, Charles.
And let me seize this opportunity to extend my condolences to you on the passing of your brother.
Thank you very much, Charles. I appreciate that.
So is this an election to savor in 2023, or is it likely to be one of the most controversial, given how tight the race appears to be?
Well, this is going to be an election that will be quite unique. On our own part, we are pretty sure that at the end of the day, the PDP will come up tops. However, we are saying to ourselves, honestly and genuinely, that we are not taking any chances. We are not going to undermine any political party in the race, because there are very many developing interests across the country for obvious reasons. So it is safer for you and your party to be on the side of caution and eyes on the ball. And that's what we are doing in the PDP.
Well, the APC and the PDP, as we know, are the top scorers when it comes to elections since 1999, the PDP leading with 4 victories and the APC coming second with 2. But they are also seen to some extent as teammates, given the cross-pollination between the two parties, but also as firm rivals on a national scale. What's the difference between the APC and the PDP? And I'll crack a joke with you here, because somebody said to me, the difference is Labour.
Well, Labour is relatively new, but they've been on the political scene for quite a while.
But in prominence, they're new.
In prominence, yeah. Well, they're new, yeah. But you see, the problem I see, Charles, is we have been running political parties not on ideological basis. So you can understand when people jump from one party to the other. But some of us have learned not to do that. We've remained in our party and will remain there until it's time to say thank you and it's goodbye.
Yeah, well, that's you, but your presidential candidate hasn't done that, has he? I mean, he's seen by many as being quite fickle, because he's frittered from one party to the other.
Like I said to you, these parties are not founded on ideological grounds. So if you are hot and you feel like that you need to prove a point, then obviously movements like that do take place.
Yeah, but loyalty gives people a sense of the consistency of an individual, doesn't it? I mean, disloyalty to anything other than self seems to be a way of life with a lot of Nigerian politicians.
Well, because the reason I see that happening, as I said. If parties are founded on ideological grounds, you will find it difficult to move from the left to the right, not even to the center, because you are supposed to be with birds of the same feather, thinking alike, doing things alike. But in this situation, you know, the first time Atiku Abubakar left the PDP was in 2007, when we were, as PDP members, deregistered. We were deregistered by the President Obasanjo. We had no party. We had to go and put together what was then known as AC. Okay? The second time was a misunderstanding between him and the leadership of the party. Not only him, and they had to work on a convention ground. Now, having said that, his mind and spirit has always been PDP. He's one of the founders of the PDP. He did so much in putting PDP together. He did so much in setting up the PDI for the PDP. So I understand what people are saying when they say, oh, he's moved from party A, but then you must understand the circumstances that made that movement to happen.
Right, but that's one of the differences that people see between the APC and the PDP on the one hand, and newer sort of front-runner parties like Labour in terms of their support and so on and so forth. Nothing seems to shake the faith of their supporters, and that's because they seem to be closer to that ideology that you're talking about than the APC and the PDP.
You know, APC came together in absolute desperation for power, and that was in 2013, right? Now, when they got power, because they are not used to governing, you can see clearly the challenges that they have faced since 2015. You look at the APC, the ruling party, it seems as if nobody is in charge. Between 2015 and today, we've had 3 chairmen for the APC, leaving the party, leaving the position unceremoniously. But look at the PDP for 16 years. Yes, people have been screaming, oh, there's corruption here, there's corruption there. But what was PDP able to do? In 16 years, digitalized the communication system, created the EFCC, created the ICPC to fight corruption, and was able to turn the economy to the fastest growing economy in Africa before we left office. So we think, yes, we've learned our lessons. There are many mistakes that were made, but having seen the last 7.5 years of the APC, then I think we know where the mines are laid.
Well, let's turn to other matters, and one of those matters, of course, your candidate, Atiku Abubakar. He held a recent rally in the southeast. Is it a bit patronizing of him to say that Igbos should wait their turn in 2027 after him? I mean, he's not saying that to the Yoruba or the Hausa Fulani, is he? I mean, is it up to him to empower the Igbos politically?
Well, you introduced me as Atiku's running mate in 2007. When he ran also in 2019, he chose my brother Peter Obi as his running mate. This time around, Ohaneze Ndibo had placed an order on Igbos not to accept the number 2 position. And that order was not lifted until it was time for the political parties to pick their running mates. Again, he decided to go across the Niger, Delta Igbo, to get his running mate. He has been consistent in terms of his relationship with the East, with the Igbo-speaking people. Now, all he is saying, he won't say that to the Yorubas or to the Northerners, because everybody knows that they have done the bit. We are all worried, concerned that it is the turn of the Southeast. Now, I want to let you know again that when the PDP was talking about zoning the presidential slot, it was only Atiku as an aspirant in the PDP that said, if the party zones the slot to the Southeast, I will support the Southeast.
Well, a lot of people would disagree with that for the simple reason that the prevailing thinking seemed to be that if he believed so much in the need to empower the Southeast, why didn't he just step aside for the region, having already run in 2019? Why didn't he support zoning in the 2022 PDP primaries, zoning of the presidency to the Southeast? There is no evidence to suggest that he supported zoning to any particular region.
The party ended up not zoning, but he, as an aspirant, did say that if it is zoned to the Southeast, he will support the Southeast.
Yeah, but it's one thing to say that in public and then go behind and put pressure on the party not to allow zoning to happen.
There was a zoning committee. There was a zoning committee and every state was represented. That's the truth. If the other aspirants had done the same thing, to say, okay, if you zone to the Southeast, we'll support, it will have been a different kettle of fish by now.
Well, to be entirely fair, because that's what we try to do on Arise News, if you see it purely from the perspective of the PDP, the South has had leadership for 13 and a half years under Obasanjo and Jonathan, and the North has now had 2.5 years under Yar'Adua. But by that same measure, the Southeast has not had any shot at all, going back even further than 1999.
Right. Now, you see, that's what we're trying to say. When you are in a political party, it is the thinking of members of that party that decides what happens. We were all yearning. I belong to a group of former governors, former senators, former ministers that I chair. I went around this country soliciting support for the Southeast. But now the truth is, you have to run on the platform of a political party. And we made efforts to make sure that we were able to get that in the PDP. We did everything. At the next meeting, we mandated Dr. Kwesili Nwodo to speak on behalf of the Southeast. How hot we felt that the PDP did not zone the presidential slot to the Southeast. It was very, very well articulated and put forward at the next meeting of the PDP.
Yeah, but if it's driven by what you say you believe in, which is the principle of equity and justice, why didn't you leave the party? I mean, Peter Obi left and went and joined the Labour Party and is enjoying considerable support because people perceive him to be someone who is upright and will not stand for that kind of injustice.
Yes. I was National Secretary of the PDP. I am a member of the Board of Trustees of the PDP. I don't see how I can jump out of the PDP just like that.
So if you perceive that injustice is being committed, you would rather stay with the party than stay with your own principles. Is that what you're saying?
We are still fighting to correct that injustice. We are still fighting.
But you think you'll do a better job from inside the party?
We are doing that.
Yeah, but you're supporting a candidate who many people...
Who has emerged as a party candidate.
Right.
Who has emerged as a party candidate. Okay. And I'm still a member of the party.
Well,
I don't do anti-party.
Let's move away from that, and let me ask you this. Is this a difficult time for the Southeast, where they appear to be split between voting for Atiku, who many see as a friend of that region, but who may end up not winning, and voting for Peter Obi, who seems quite popular, but who may end up also not winning? And we can see that conflict in someone like Charles Soludo, governor of Anambra State. I wonder what you think of all of that.
Well, you see,
I mean, you're from Anambra State.
I'm from Anambra State.
And you're the chairman of the PDP
yes.
campaign council in Anambra State.
Charles, before I met Atiku Abubakar, Atiku had established very strong links with people of the Southeast before I met him. Probably because of my political association with him, I became quite closer and related well with him. But then, he still had a lot of good friends. Ordinarily, he spends the 24th to the 26th in the Southeast. He is married to an able woman from Onitsha with children. So you can see that he has his own links in the Southeast. Peter, my brother, is doing very well. In the PDP, some of us, the group I just talked about, were the ones that insisted on Peter to run. We were the ones that said Peter should run. And supported him. When he said he was going to the Labour Party, most of the members of that group said, look, we are members of the BOT. We can't see ourselves jumping out of the PDP as BOT members and going on to Labour. So I am happy he has made an impact, very, very strong impact. There's no question about that. The issue when people say, no, an Igbo man cannot be president, he has clearly debunked that. And I give that to him. But again, here we are, the PDP, Labour, APGA. That's what I know that exists in the Southeast. But then, there are certain places, the only party that you will definitely find across the country, in every and any polling unit you visit, I can say without any fear of contradiction, is the PDP.
Right. So Atiku, given what you just said, him having relations with people from the Southeast and other parts of this country, will unify Nigeria, will he?
That's why he's called the unifier.
So how is it that he's unable to unify his own party? I mean, because that suggests that he doesn't have the capacity to bring everyone together.
That's not correct. Not correct. It is not for Atiku as a candidate to do the unifying of the party. It is the job of the party. Atiku is just the presidential candidate.
Yeah, but people see the candidate as the leader of the party.
And he has been making efforts, has set up so many committees to intervene and reconcile the party. But do not forget, in a party like the PDP, you will have the good, the bad, and the ugly. And that is expected. And that is what it is. However, we believe very strongly that we are going to overcome that hurdle as we go. Yes.
Right. But some have argued on social media and elsewhere that the PDP is quite tessellated, split into smaller units led by people who broke away from it. I mean, you just talked about Peter Obi. there's Rabiu Kwankwaso and other renegades within the PDP, including the G5 governors and the PDP for Opito group, which is also inside the PDP. And they argue, I mean, the people, that in such circumstances, how can you form or hope to form a front that is united enough to win?
Well, Charles, again, as people are walking out of the PDP, more people are also walking in.
Yeah, but it depends on the prominence of the people. I mean, if you've got 5 governors who are saying that they will not support your candidate, if you've got the former governor of the Southeast and a former vice presidential, I mean, the former governor of Anambra State, former vice presidential candidate walking out of the party, Rabiu Kwankwaso, former governor of Kano. I mean, you know, that's a pretty big body blow.
Charles, we just came out of a presidential campaign rally in Anambra on Thursday.
I saw it. We carried it live on Arise News.
Very good. Now, after that, on Saturday, we were in Owerri.
I saw that as well.
Yeah. Now, you see, party politics, you build it around people. People will move in one direction or the other. But you need to be sure that you have the right people at the right places. You will not definitely have 100% of the right people.
Well, you've got a lot less than 100%, because people, for example, cite the APC in 2015 as an example. They suggest that if Buhari ran on the CPC, Tinubu on the ACN, and Kwankwaso on another platform in 2015, they would have lost. But that's what's happening in the PDP now. I mean, if you couldn't win when the party was together, how could you possibly win now when it's deeply split down the middle?
I don't agree with you. The reason being that when you mention governors, in the Southeast, governors are not our leaders. Governors are not our leaders. Recall, when Peter Obi was chosen in 2019, the 3 governors we had protested. They challenged it. Peter Obi can speak for how and what happened to settle that score. When you go to a state, there are people who are opinion molders. They most often determine what happens in their states. I have seen situations whereby a governor of 8 years will be walking on the street and he's not recognized. I've seen that, many of them. But because they are governors and we're following the practice which President Obasanjo introduced by hijacking party meetings to the State House and encourage governors to do same. So when you're not liked by a governor, you're not liked by the president, the security men lock you out. That's not leadership. I make bold to say, that's not leadership. You want to test your powers, go to the party office. Allow members to come in, those who belong to the party, and then tell them that this is what you want. Then you will know whether you form or you constitute the majority or the other people do constitute the majority. I have seen some of the governors, the G5 governors, when they said something, the other leaders came out and said, no, this is where we stand. It has happened again and again.
Yeah, but the one place where they stand ineluctably is that they oppose the way they oppose Iyochi Ayu, and they say they will not support your candidate, and they're not supporting him until that situation changes.
I repeat again, Charles, there are other leaders in those states. There are other leaders in those states.
So in spite of them,
they command respect as well.
Right. In spite of them, you will move forward.
Oh yes. PDP, we are certainly moving forward. We're certainly moving forward. I am still part of the people who believe that all efforts must be made to bring those governors back. I stand by that.
But at this point, you don't think there's any chance of that happening?
I believe they will come back. I believe very strongly.
I mean, before the elections?
Yes. Charles, out of the 5 of them, one is running for the re-election to be governor of his state. The other 3 are senatorial candidates of the PDP. The senatorial elections and the presidential elections will take place the same day. I mean, it's just simple political arithmetic. So you want those senatorial candidates who are governors now to say, all right, vote for me as a senator and vote against this.
So why do you think they're holding out then, if it seems that simple?
Well, it's part of our politics. It's part of our politics. We will cross the bridge when we get there, and we're going to get there.
Right. Well, we've got just literally a few minutes left. Let's turn to the disquietingly grim issue of violence heading into this election, starting with your own state, Anambra. How worried are you about violence?
I'm very, very worried. But I had the opportunity of sitting down with Governor Soludo, who has done quite a good job in trying to bring down the issue of insecurity in the state. It wasn't as it is when he came on board. A lot of work has been done, working hand in gloves with the security agencies. We've had some quiet. In recent times, it is clashes between cultish groups. That is more of the thing happening in Anambra now.
Right.
You know, so I think the governors have to work hand in gloves in the region, alongside with the security agencies, and then using the vigilantes of the various communities. Because, Charles, what are we talking about? If a stranger comes to the villagers will know that it's a stranger, and somebody you do not know. Security is all hands on deck. So when that is done, when there's that synergy, it becomes a lot more easier to curtail the insecurity.
But are you concerned, because there appear to be so many incidents of attacks on INEC, for example, and also in the southeast. I mean, not so much in Anambra State, but in Imo State, for example. I mean, obviously there have been attacks in other states, but Imo State seems to be at the heart of it.
True.
I mean, why do you think that's the case?
Well, I believe the reason behind all of that this time around is, you know, when Governor Hope Uzodimma came in, they had some challenges, and he tried to bring in the military, you know, to bring the situation under control. They felt the IPOB chaps felt that was not the right thing to do. But then, immediately after that, there was some intervention. The Obi of Onitsha led some major stakeholders to have meetings with them. And these meetings are still ongoing. In fact, that's why you see a lot of quiet in some of these places. But now and again, they'll come up under a strike. But we are worried because if it continues, it may affect the election.
Well, yeah, that's the
I have been informed that this Christmas period and New Year period, a lot of meetings are going to take place to see how we can communicate with our brothers and see how we can bring the situation under firm control, so that the elections in February will be quite peaceful.
And in your assessment, that is what is most likely to fundamentally undermine the ballot in that part of the country?
Yes, there's no question. I mean, when you strike fear into the people, then what it means is that they may not be bold enough to come out and cast their votes. So it behoves on us to make sure that we use the period of the festivity to talk to ourselves and say, look, we will be undermining our own selves if we don't come out to vote. Again, it will count on what strength you have in the Southeast. You will be judged by the strength of your voting capacity.
I want to thank you, as always, Senator Ben Obi. I mean, it's always a brilliant exercise getting the benefit of your analysis. Thank you very much indeed. And Senator Ben Obi was the former vice presidential running mate to Atiku Abubakar in 2007, and he's currently chairman of the PDP Presidential Campaign Council in Anambra State. Thank you very much indeed.